entered a world where fantasy is real, where he could be anything he wanted, and where he would discover the most dangerous temptation of all.
Come and get me, boys. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. I believe you were expecting me.
Yes. Silly. Think you would fall in love with someone like me.
I can't fall in love with anyone and make men believe what they want to believe.
Never knew I could feel like this. I believe in truth, freedom, and above all things, love. Like I've never seen the sky.
You're gonna be bad for business, I can tell.
I am willing to provide the financial resources to make you a star.
You don't have to wear that dress tonight.
I require a contract that binds Satine to me exclusively.
He could destroy everything.
I don't care. We have each other.
Make Christian believe you don't love him.
He'll fight for me.
Hurt him to save him.
Whatever happens, no matter how bad things get, we love one another.
Kill the boy.
No!
Silence! Tell me you don't love me!
This story is about love at the Moulin Rouge.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, listeners. Everybody, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott.
And
these are the movies that made us gay.
Yay!
Oh my god. We are doing a movie I fucking love.
Yes, indeed. I think everybody in this room, most of us can recite this movie start to finish. It's another one of those.
Soundtrack is on rotation weekly.
Oh, bitch.
I feel.
This soundtrack, I like. If it's possible to like make a CD like disintegrate from like playing too much.
I feel like I went through numerous versions of the CD too.
Oh,
throughout the years.
I think I just did the one, but I burned it eventually to my computer, so then we were good to go. We've got a great one. Scott, do you want to introduce our lovely guest so we can talk about the movie?
Yes, so we watched the Moulin Rouge.
Yay!
Directed by Baz Luhrmann with Harper and Jonathan from the Hawkeyes.
Yay! Hawkeyes Podcast, Harper and Jonathan, welcome to the show!
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Your neighborhood Ethan Hawke podcast,
That's
which
right.
I have been a guest on.
Yes. A great
Yeah, we
episode.
loved having you.
So, Moulin Rouge, I don't think Ethan Hawke has starred in a movie with either of Nicole Kidman and
Or Ewan McGregor.
Oddly enough.
No.
I was trying to figure it out.
Is there a
before
6
we
degrees
recorded.
of Ethan Hawke for this? Did John Leguizamo?
Yeah, John
Yes,
Leguizamo
yes.
is in
Okay.
a movie with Ethan Hawke.
Which
Yeah.
one?
He's in 2 movies with Ethan Hawke. He's in Assault on Precinct 13,
Ah.
and he's
Yes.
in Joe the King.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't share any scenes
Couple
in Joe
deep
the King,
cuts.
but they do share a scene.
Yeah,
couple
Joe the
scenes in
King,
Assault
that's
on
a
Precinct 13.
deep cut.
Yeah.
It is.
Very
Yeah.
deep cut.
Yeah, Assault on Precinct 13, I think, is a little bit more
Yeah.
widely known. But yeah, Joe the King, I know the name, but I'm like, I couldn't tell you what it was about if you paid me $100 right now.
Neither
Yeah.
could we.
I feel like there's a midlife crisis movie that probably should write itself starring Ethan Hawke and Nicole Kidman.
Nicole,
Sure,
God, I
yeah.
love that. I mean, I feel like she could be in a movie with Ethan Hawke. Like,
Yes.
She did Rabbit Hole with Aaron Eckhart. Which
I could see
feel-
Ethan Hawke just playing the Aaron Eckhart role in Rabbit Hole and probably
100%.
being better.
Okay.
He is
Hot take.
Aaron Eckhart is really good in Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I saw Miles Teller too. I thought he was pretty good at that.
Was he like a child in that?
No, he was like a teen. He
It was
Oh,
it was his first big breakout role.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, Moulin Rouge, you guys.
Released June 1st, 2001, premiered at Cannes
Yes.
of that year. And it's interesting, for Moulin Rouge, only grossed $57 million. So not initially a huge hit.
Total?
Yeah.
But yeah, for like U.S. gross.
US.
I think it hit
But I mean,
probably
like-
180 worldwide.
Yeah. But like Marvel movies and stuff make
Yeah.
that in a weekend now.
So
That's crazy.
I think it was sort of at the time dismissed as not really a bust, but
Sure.
maybe as a disappointment. And it's one of those movies that by the end of 2001, it was huge.
Yeah.
Just with home video, this DVD was everything. So this was
Had a lot of stuff on
this
it.
was at the time where DVD was fairly new, and this DVD is like loaded with special features.
I had the VHS,
Ooh.
which did have a featurette at the end that was like half an hour
Oh,
after
wow.
the credits. It was like a
Nice.
half hour. Yeah, it was very good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Does everyone want to talk about when they first watched the Moulin Rouge?
Sure.
Sure.
Let's start with our guests.
Oh, yes. Harper, you go first.
Okay, so I was 7 when this movie came out.
Love it.
And I saw it in a theater. It was the first time I cried at a movie in a theater, and my mom was like, "Wow, our child's like a functioning human with like feelings, you know, can like because it was, you know, like when kids like don't really process things, you know what I mean?" And so
Yeah.
But I cried a lot at the ending of this movie when I was 7, and we saw it at the Avco in Westwood, which is now an iPic theater. Rest in peace, Avco.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I remember seeing it and being very moved by it, and then subsequently my 8th birthday, which was my following birthday, I had a spectacular themed party.
You told us about this.
Spectacular!
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, well done.
So that was great. But yeah, so my mom, like, we like rented a limo, and so it was me and a bunch of my 8-year-old friends, and we drove around, and we had T-shirts that said "Spectacular."
Oh my god.
And we stopped at McDonald's and had a cake that was shaped like a limo because it was like a limo / Moulin Rouge party.
I mean, they had to work with the theme.
Yeah,
We got the limo for the night.
I love that the theme was Moulin Rouge / Limousine.
Yeah, it was very
So
fun.
amazing.
So did you guys just like cruise down like Sunset Boulevard and do like the big loop?
I think we just like drove around LA, and there was like a little TV with a VCR in the back of the limo, and we all watched Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in the limo.
Oh my gosh.
Losing the theme there a little
Yeah,
bit.
Wow,
whatever.
yeah.
It was a fun time though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
The movies, I mean, Moulin Rouge is magical. So, you know,
It really is.
if there were wizards in it, I wouldn't have been like taken aback.
It's true. It's true.
Jonathan, what about you? When did you first watch this
I
movie?
think I would have first watched it after meeting Harper.
Uh-huh.
That's
But here's the thing. Since then, though, I mean, I've never watched it without you.
Yeah,
I think you would be shocked if I had.
yeah, I would.
But I have watched it a bunch of times since then.
Sure.
And I would say that since having seen it, because I feel like I watched like the Star Wars movies a bunch when I was a kid, or like,
Right.
but since having watched Moulin Rouge for the first time, I don't think I've seen another movie as many times as I've seen Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
And I'm not like a huge rewatcher anyway,
Right.
but at least since that time, I've seen it probably like 5 or 6 times.
We'll chop that.
At least, I
Yeah.
mean, because like I think I've watched Moulin Rouge. I'm gonna say around 200 times, and I feel like that's kind of like a conservative estimate.
Yeah, we've been
And
together
so,
for the last.
and we've been together for over 7 years.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like you must have seen it at least 10 times. if
Wow.
Wow.
that's-
I feel like this is the type of movie that a straight guy either has to be introduced by his girlfriend or a gay friend that's just like sort of
Yeah,
within their reach.
that's fair.
That's about right.
That's fair.
So I remember this movie, summer of 2001. I was a reader of Premiere Magazine and reading all of the previews for this movie and just being so excited because I was a big Romeo and Juliet fan. Huge. I had sisters. Leo Mania. I remember being so excited for this movie, but I'm from a small town. This movie was not playing anywhere near within 100 miles. So I had to wait until when did this movie come out on video? December probably.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah.
So you didn't see it in the theater?
I
You
did
only
not
saw
see it in the theater.
Okay.
So I watched it with my parents, and I remember they fucking hated it.
Yeah.
They didn't even get past the Elephant Medley love song. I think that was when they checked out.
Crazy.
Sure.
Was when they were just like, nope, we're good.
good.
And I'm just like, oh, I guess it's not that great. I'm still going to keep watching it.
I know people that the music was an issue
Yeah.
for
Yes.
them.
Right.
The mixture of songs and not so much that there were contemporary songs in a period setting, but the medleyness of it all, the jukebox musicalness of it. I had friends at the time that were like, "No, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm out."
I can kind of see like the pitchfork intelligentsia type.
Yes.
Typing on their IMAX, being like, "Oh, they ruined Nirvana."
Yeah, exactly. And also too, just like the Baz Luhrmann kind of like frenetic. Cutting and like very almost like Looney Tunes quality with like sound effects and all of that stuff to like bring you into this like crazy world. I saw this in the theater with friends in Hastings Ranch, and
it's now at LA Fitness.
It is now in LA Fitness. Just kind of I was familiar with Romeo and Juliet. So I kind of knew what I was getting into as far as like that crazy Baz Luhrmann world, over the top craziness.
I think I saw Romeo and Juliet in high school, so I was at least had some frame of reference. Probably.
Yeah, because it is weird. Like as an adult and not, I can imagine, growing up with it since you're 7 years old or, in high school, whatever, just being like, you kind of accept that this is what the movie is. But just being like a regular random movie watcher going, what in the hell am I watching? I remember my mom watching Romeo and Juliet first, seeing it on like HBO or something. And she was just like, what is going on? Like these cuts and the speeding up and the slowing down and this and that. She's just like, I just can't follow along. Okay. I was already a big Ewan McGregor fan. Going into it, that was like the main draw for me.
Hot off the Phantom Menace,
for sure, and just kind of really taking to it and buying the soundtrack and listening to that, you mentioned the DVD when it came out, and even the VHS, like you said, Harper, having a little 30-minute bit at the end. The DVD just had crazy special features bursting at the seams. This is at the height of like special edition DVDs, right?
It was double disc.
Yes. And there was so much crap. And Baz Luhrmann, I feel like, is the kind of person that enjoys to talk when there's a microphone in front of him.
So. Because we have watched this movie with the commentary multiple times.
Oh,
okay.
Have you guys listened to the commentary for it?
No, I don't think I.
You need to watch it with the commentary.
Wow.
All right, we're stopping right now and watching.
He has some great tidbits about the making of this movie.
Yes,
that's cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
very very interesting thoughts on it. Talks a lot about Romeo and Juliet and just the how the two movies are kind of spiritual sequels and all that kind of a thing.
That and Strictly Ballroom, right?
Yes,
like a trilogy.
This an official
How
trilogy.
many movies had he made before Moulin? We mentioned Romeo and Juliet. How many other movies had he made before making this one?
Was it just Strictly Ballroom and Romeo and Juliet? It might have just been the two.
It could have just been those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, was he a production designer or a commercial director?
I think he was a commercial director.
Sure,
yeah.
that makes total sense.
Out of Australia. Yes. And the commentary is very enlightening when it comes to all that stuff and talking about this crazy, like all those crazy fast cuts and the crazy sound effects and all that. They do kind of taper off.
Yes.
After a while,
he drops you right in the pool at the beginning.
But at the beginning,
swim.
it's there really fast to kind of just get you acclimated to this hyper realistic world that you're going to be brought into. But I do remember at the time that this movie was a hit among the theater kid crowd.
Yes, definitely.
Karaoke bars were never the same.
But it was one of those movies that I think it took it until the end of 2001 to really catch on. Because it seems like now, like, everything is just live or die opening weekend.
Sure.
And this took, a few months for it to really gain its momentum.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, it was nominated for like 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, which a musical for Best Picture hadn't happened since like Beauty and the Beast.
Wow.
Too.
Crazy.
And had it happened before Beauty and the Beast, since how long? Like, who even knows that?
I mean,
Yeah,
probably
a while.
Probably Cabaret. If you're
Yeah.
if you're classifying Cabaret as a musical.
Yeah.
Oh, I would.
And then after this, it kind of like opened. Like we had Chicago,
Yes.
Down with Love, another Ewan McGregor classic.
Oh yeah,
And that's what's
movie.
interesting is that there was a period of time where musicals were just not in fashion.
Yeah,
Evita was very hot and cold with people.
yeah.
Even though it did win Madge her Golden Globe, I don't think it was really liked all that much.
Because it's boring. Sorry.
but Moulin Rouge and Baz just sort of kickstarted the genre again.
Yes, and then was it? What year did Chicago win Best
2 years
Picture?
later.
2 years later.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, and then it was kind of downhill after Chicago. So it was like a good 3 years of like some some movie musical magic. But yeah, this movie's insane. Like it's got like pretty people. And the crazy thing is, you wouldn't think Nicole Kidman. I mean, she's not the strongest singer, but she's serviceable,
Yes.
and she's selling it.
And we should also talk about Nicole Kidman had a huge 2001
Yes,
Is that
because
when
she
The
did
Others came
she
out?
did
Yes,
this,
indeed.
The Others, divorced Tom Cruise,
Right.
and
yeah.
Oscar nomination.
yeah.
It's just like her career was just sort of remade this year.
Do you think those pictures are real?
Oh, have you guys seen the pictures, the paparazzi pictures of Nicole Kidman supposedly leaving
Her lawyer's office.
her lawyer's office and she's like screaming out in joy?
It's like leaving the lawyer's office after signing the paperwork to divorce Tom Cruise, and she's like, it's like Mary Tyler Moore. She's like
Yeah.
throwing her arms up in the air and like spinning around. And I'm like, is this real? Is this true? They
I
look
like-
right
I
around
like
the
to think
time.
it is.
I like to think it is too. She's just like, fuck yes, I'm free.
But yeah, this was right at the time that Nicole Kidman just hit, her career just like skyrocketed.
Yes.
And she is the beloved our Nick that she is
Ah,
today.
Nick. She's on Nick. Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure that Baz was just like, it has to be Nicole.
So, reading casting rumors for this movie
'Cause
off
the Australian
IMDb,
connection?
I'm kind of taking with a grain of salt. I did see rumored Satines were Catherine Zeta-Jones, Kate Winslet, Renee Zellweger, and Hilary Swank. Supposedly, Courtney Love met with Baz Luhrmann, and he said no. And she's harbored a
Yikes.
resentment against Nicole Kidman ever since.
Oof.
But then why would she agree to let Smells Like Teen Spirit in the movie?
There
I
you
think
go.
he met with her to get that song.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think he had any
We're
intention
gonna
of
we're
giving
gonna
her this
meet you
role.
and talk about the lead role, but we really just want the song.
We talked about that with the movie that Ethan Hawke directed, where he sort of similar situation where he had Yoko Ono had let him use. They did a cover of. Do you remember this Jealous Guy from the movie he
yeah,
directed?
in Chelsea Walls.
Chelsea Walls, yeah. And it was like a situation like that where like there was no way they could pay to even like license the song to cover it. Let alone actually.
Yeah.
So they just had a cover in the movie, and it was a really good cover.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a similar situation where like Yoko Ono had like was like,
Yeah.
oh, we like what you're doing, and let him use it.
That's cool. I mean, Dave Grohl was not very happy with Smells Like Teen Spirit being in this movie.
Supposedly he was
but,
not.
No, he said it.
Yep.
Like he's fully like, no, that movie's garbage.
That's such a bummer.
I know it is. It's unfortunate. I do remember sitting in the theater, and that was the one song that I was like, oh, I don't know if that fits. Like everything
Sure.
else was fine. I was like, okay, I can, I'm dancing along. I'm dealing with this. And then Teen Spirit came on, and I was like, I don't know, but I've made peace with it.
I think what really works about that song for me, though, is the way that whole scene is like clearly very thought out. Like every single second of that
Yes.
scene
Yes.
is so
Yes.
thought out, and everything's coming from different directions. Like you have the girls coming from one side, and you have the men with the top hats coming from the other side, and so it kind of feels like that's like just one of the directions that's like coming at you.
Sure.
Is the men with the Smells Like Teen Spirits, and it like
Yeah.
it really gets that kind of like assault of music and visuals like
Right.
working at you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. It does work. But I just remember me being the age that I am and the age that I was then, and what Nirvana like was to me at the time I was just like, But now I feel I have no problem with that at all. But so I do have the first clip I do want to play is just kind of to illustrate the kind of crazy frenetic like pace of the movie very early on. It's there's voiceover, there's sound effects, there's like people crashing through ceilings. So we'll just take a listen to this.
Yes, I had come to live a penniless existence. I had come to write about truth, beauty, freedom, and that which I believed in above all things, love.
Always this ridiculous obsession with love.
There was only one problem. I'd never been in love. Luckily, right at that moment, an unconscious Argentinian fell through my roof. He was quickly joined by a dwarf dressed as a nun.
How do you do? My name is Henri-Marie Raymond Toulouse-Lautrec Mon. I'm terribly sorry about all this. We're just upstairs rehearsing a play.
What? A play? Something very modern called Spectacular? Spectacular.
Spectacular! Spectacular!
Yeah, so there's like typewriter clacking, there's crazy xylophone sound effects going on back there.
You've just sort of been thrown into the universe of this movie.
Yeah. And then there's just like the crazy cutting, like the edits. Those shots in particular, there's like cuts.
Yeah.
There's like seconds between, cutting back and forth. But it's just kind of serves to, all of it's for a purpose. Like you said, it's so planned out. And he's talked about the idea of using modern songs in a period setting to kind of, if they played period specific music, would be boring.
And he talks about that to impress, at the time, 2001 was your audience.
Your modern audience.
Your modern audience, that if you were to straight up make a movie about the Moulin Rouge, people would think it would be boring.
Yes.
So
you got to get the Spice Girls and Nirvana in the mix.
So
are the Spice Girls in there?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they are, right?
I can't remember when, but I feel really confident that they are.
Okay, there's a bit when Satine is in the elephant and she's waiting for Christian, and I think that's the Spice Girls.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Well,
I'm doing a quick Google.
I don't have a clip for that.
But what I was saying earlier is that Baz wanted to kind of translate that excitement that your average person walking into the Moulin Rouge in the end of the 1800s.
Sure.
Kind of that sort of excitement to a modern audience. And this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like the Can girls, petticoats were just white.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were like the multicolored in this movie, and the costumes were like individualized and stuff. And
a little sexier.
Yeah. But so if you were to have seen, if they would have done it super period specific, it would just be a little drab looking, maybe. So that's kind of why they went for like the crazy colors and all of that. So that all makes sense. And I've never really felt it, and I don't really think that I heard too many negative reactions to that kind of updating as far as like the look of it. Like the costuming?
Because I kind of feel like when you do a movie like this, even someone who doesn't know a ton about movies or musicals or whatever, or the Moulin Rouge coming into this, you can pick up right away pretty much like, oh, this is not what they're going for.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of the times the movies that get criticized for historical inaccuracies more are the ones that are played for this is fact and this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But when you exaggerate it this much as he does in this movie, you're kind of like, you have to buy into it, and you're like, all right, this is what's happening.
Yeah,
and I feel like he had already set up his MO before with like Romeo plus Juliet, where it's like, we know that they have the long swords and they're like the guns,
right,
long and that kind of thing. So I think by this point you kind of know what he's doing, and you don't have to worry too much about the historical aspect of it.
Yeah, totally. Because like also I think like, I don't think the Eiffel Tower was completed until like a couple of years later, and it's just like there in this movie, and there's like
it plays a huge role in this.
Yeah, there's top hats bouncing off of it, and all of that.
When kind of going back to revisit this movie, what impresses me the most about the first scene of the movie is how well the visual effects have dated.
Yeah.
Because they still look really good because they're not going for a photoreal setting. It's supposed to be exaggerated.
Right,
it's almost like an old-timey photograph for a painting. And at the time, the big swooping shot to the Moulin Rouge was the longest single-take visual effects shot ever put on film.
Wow.
And I think it was probably broke by, like, Fellowship of the Ring 6 months later.
Yeah. But yeah, the big shots of Paris look like a pop-up book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, if they would have gone for something more photoreal, other movies from that time, those effects look really bad.
Go back and revisit The Mummy Returns.
Oh no.
Does not look great. Released the same summer.
Yeah, but just it lends itself to the over the top, like crazy kind of storybook quality almost to the material, so that you kind of give the effects a little bit of leeway because they're not supposed to look real.
Yeah.
So that's kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also just like 8 Kylie Minogues hanging from strings.
Yep.
Like completely like just green. Like I don't know. Like it works because even though it's like the shading, it's just like they just like pumped up the green and
yeah.
I don't know. It works for me.
Same.
So, Kylie Minogue though, the Green Fairy. Come on, get out of here. She looks awesome.
You know who
great.
the fairy was supposed to be?
No, who?
It was supposed to be Marilyn Manson.
Oh.
Whoa.
That was the idea, and then they want a complete
180.
a complete 180
Yeah.
and did
feel
Kylie.
Like Kylie is a good choice, though. I feel great about her being in this
Yes.
movie.
So it was like
sure.
Marilyn Manson, or I think he also mentioned Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
I see.
Marilyn and Ozzy weren't going to be like Tinkerbell,
Mm-hmm.
Green Fairy. They were going to be like almost like genies.
Pops out of the bottle of absinthe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then they decided to go in another direction and do like a. But it fits so well because
Yes.
there's like all the iconography and like the bottle and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love that.
I had my first sip of absinthe.
So there's a movie called Total Eclipse with Leonardo DiCaprio.
We need to do it eventually.
Yes. And he plays this like French poet, and it's set in the same time period. And he plays this like French poet called Arthur Rimbaud, and David Thewlis from Harry Potter is also in it. And they like drink a lot of absinthe. And it was one of these movies that was on like Cinemax or something when I was in high school, and I was just like, what is this movie? Like, you see Leonardo DiCaprio's buns in this movie, and he's like 18, and I'm just like, what is this? And I like secretly recorded it and would watch it, and it was set in Paris, and they drank all this absinthe, and I was just like fascinated, and that was in this movie, and I was like, what? So we were doing our deep dive into the IMDb trivia, and I read somewhere that Leo, because he just worked with Baz on Romeo and Juliet, was very interested in this movie.
Do you think he was ever considered as Christian?
Okay, so the story goes that Baz was like, all right, show me what you got. Leo came in and sang and was like, yeah, this isn't going to work.
Sorry, pal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could say he was basically in the worst version of this movie, which is The Great Gatsby.
Right?
Sure. You know,
that movie is the same. It's just like Tobey Maguire's at a typewriter instead of
Right.
Ewan McGregor.
True.
we recently revisited The Great Gatsby, and I thought it went down pretty well all these years later, because I feel like I wasn't all that impressed with it, and I think I have a visual appreciation for it.
Totally.
Just because
Right,
all of
yeah.
Catherine Martin's production design and costumes are pretty beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
But
all
it
the
doesn't
beautiful
quite
shirts.
raise to the level that this movie does.
Uh-huh.
I think it's just the material.
And I think he was going for the same idea, getting like Jay-Z and like, you know, all these musicians to
yeah.
like do the music. And it was fun, and the music is really cool. But yeah, I don't know, something about that Gatsby and that soundtrack is a little bit more like lower tempo. So it's just not as exciting.
I think it just has to do with.
I don't know.
I think it just has to do with the book
Well, yeah, the material is also
too.
just a big
So
downer.
yeah.
Well, not that this movie isn't a big downer. Like, Satine dies at the first scene of the movie.
Yep.
He's like,
We kn-
yeah,
we-
she's dead.
We know right away.
Yeah.
She's dead.
And so the whole time you're thinking, oh, this movie's not going to have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to die at the end? Or do you or were you thinking maybe she'll live? Do you every time you watch it, or you're like, maybe she'll live this time?
No. But I do feel like, I don't know, you get so
Sucked into
sucked into
Yeah.
it that you kind of let yourself forget what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for they really don't let you forget it all. Like several times throughout the movie,
Yes.
like cuts to like an overlay of her dying.
Yes, just
at the
like
end.
falling. Yeah, that shot. Yeah.
So you can't forget, and also she's constantly like passing out and coughing up blood.
Yes, this is true. The consumption is just overtaking her.
Could you imagine the amount of work our Nick put in to that "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" song?
Ugh.
Wearing that heavy corset,
So heavy,
kicking,
like-
wearing heels. No wonder, like, she almost broke her knee. That's the whole story. Is that she broke, or like she didn't break her knee. Like she fell when doing that scene, and it held up shooting for like weeks.
I thought Ewan dropped her.
Oh, am I thinking of a different scene? I always assume that it was the opening number because it looks like she's doing the most work.
No, the reason that she got injured and had to drop out of Panic Room, the injury, I'm pretty sure the injury was Ewan dropping her.
Oh, she was going to do Panic Room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I think it was like an 11th hour decision too that she dropped out. She's a voice in the movie when they call the ex-husband. She's like his wife.
There's like an
over
answer,
the phone.
There's like an answering
Yeah.
machine voice, and it's her, and that's it.
Crazy.
Yes. But yeah, she had to drop out because her injury was not fully healed yet, and that movie's so like physical that she, she
It
couldn't do
must be the Your Song scene.
It has to be. I'm
Scene
thinking
then.
the rooftop. She's spinning around.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only time they really dance together.
But I think I just assumed that it was Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. 'Cause
She's on the
she is-
swing.
She is like doing some,
Some
like
pink level.
acrobatic
Yeah.
and dancing work in that scene while wearing heels.
And that's another thing about Nicole is that she's very like, I don't know. I feel like her persona, or she's just kind of thought of as just very like austere, dramatic, like tragic, like woman. But in this movie, she really like lets loose, like dancing and singing,
Yeah,
and like
she sells spectacular in that scene.
Yeah, and I mean, like one of the funniest movie scenes ever of all time is when they're in the elephant together, and he starts to like do the poetry for her.
Yes.
and she's like
Mhm.
pretending to like orgasm.
Yes.
from his
Did you know
naughty
that was the
words.
clip that they showed at the Oscars?
Oh, that's so funny.
They didn't show her big dramatic scene with Zidler. They showed her like
screaming and hollering,
screaming on the
floor.
bed.
Yeah, I remember
So
at the-
shady.
on the Oscars going, "What the fuck? Why did they show this shot?
Wow.
So weird."
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think she's just thought of as so like serious, and she's like living her life in that scene, and it's really funny. And she's like, and last night we're watching it, and the volume's up really loud, and she's like, like screaming. I'm like, oh my god, the neighbors think we're watching like porno, like super loud.
And especially for audiences going into this movie, I mean, they had never seen Nicole like this before in a movie. Like
No,
this
not
is a
really,
side
yeah.
of Nicole Kidman they had never seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just coming off of like Eyes Wide Shut.
I'm trying to think of movies with Nicole Kidman that I would have like known of before this.
Sure.
Because I don't know that because being 7, I
Yeah.
don't know that I would have had much of a knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Of her. I think
Batman
I
Forever?
probably saw Practical Magic.
Sure.
Yeah.
But even now I don't really. That's Sandra Bullock. Yeah, no, I think maybe. Yeah, I might have seen Batman, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Not a big part of my movie lexicon.
Right.
Good to hear that you weren't watching Dead Calm as like a 6-year-old.
Is that the one on the boat with Billy Zane?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and then later I definitely saw Far and Away, but I didn't see that until middle
Right.
school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was, like I said, I was very familiar with Ewan McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
I was very familiar with his penchant for taking his pants off in movies. Didn't think it was going to happen in this, but
You see him
you could
naked
dream.
in Velvet Goldmine.
Exactly. Was that before this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Velvet Goldmine is iconic.
That soundtrack is amazing
Mm-hmm.
and impossible to find.
Really?
Yes, it's not on iTunes.
He was in before that. He was in Emma before that too, right?
He was. Yep.
Yeah, and Phantom Menace. I saw Phantom Menace in theaters too.
Awesome.
In Santa Ynez.
Awesome.
Nice. I love how you remember where.
Yeah. Because I think I saw it there a couple times. I don't know why. We were on vacation. I think we just went to see it twice in the theater.
I mean, Phantom Menace was a big one. I remember
Yeah.
where I was when I saw Phantom Menace.
Did you know that I saw Phantom Menace somewhere in Southern California, and I, for the life of me, do not know where, and it bothers me to this day.
Wild.
I'm drawing the conclusion that I think it was at the Ontario Mills Mall.
Wow.
Because I think, for where we were at that time, it would make sense if it was if it was in Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Were you also on vacation?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Didn't you gone to Disneyland?
Yes.
on that vacation?
So we were in Anaheim, making our way back up to the high desert. So
yeah,
possibly Ontario Mills.
Yeah, that's how I would route. That's how I map it. Makes sense. I saw it at the lakes at West Covina with Damien.
Jonathan, did you see? I
didn't know that I saw it in theaters. Yeah, I don't know that I did.
That's crazy.
It was an event. Everybody saw it in the theater. The whole world was watching. But yeah, Ewan McGregor was amazing. I mean, he's like, oh my god, he's my ride or die. Like,
never's been nominated for an Oscar.
Never not. Yeah, I was thinking about that last night.
Crazy.
In my controversial hot take that while Leo could not convincingly play Christian, Ewan could probably convincingly portray Rick Dalton.
He would make an interesting Rick Dalton too.
Throw some sideburns on it.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that last night, and I was like, man, Ewan hasn't been nominated for any Oscars for any. But what would he have been?
Sure.
I mean, he doesn't do a lot of like big Oscar baity movies. But yeah, like I'm ride or die for Ewan, and I was watching it last night, and there's shots of him like in a tank, like a wife beater, like tank top,
with
like
the vest
with the
and
vest
the hat
on. Yeah, it's
and the scarf.
Very, yeah. I mean, it's a good look. You know, it's very intelligentsia, like you said. The suspenders and everything. But I was thinking, I'm watching him there in like this various states of undress, and I'm thinking, you know, in 2020, he'd be so much more ripped.
Yeah.
Like
true.
he was, he's Ewan McGregor's well-built man, very well-built gentleman. But you know, at the time,
slender.
yeah,
He would have to get shredded for this movie.
Oh my
now.
god, yeah, and he doesn't even have his shirt off. But I feel like any actor nowadays, just the arms that you saw would have just been like completely.
Who would you cast
shredded
as Christian
in 2020? Well, I mean, now there's a whole lot of Timothy Chalamet. Yeah, it's either him or just a whole lot of like Netflix so and so's that I don't know their names.
Zac Efron pretty much plays the Christian role in The Greatest Showman.
True.
Which I'll just get out of the way.
And Zac Efron can sing.
Greatest Showman. I don't hate the movie. I'll say that I don't hate the movie. I think it's fun, but I don't think it successfully does what the Moulin Rouge does.
No, definitely not. But I think what The Greatest Showman does do is it's like it has a lot of like really catchy original songs, which
That's
you don't.
true.
Yes.
Like we don't get
Yes.
original movie musicals
Yeah.
anymore. You know, like not really. I mean, we had La La Land.
Oh my
Right,
God.
and the people that wrote the songs for La La Land wrote.
Yes, yeah, it's Benj Pasek and the other guy whose name I can't remember.
I think my big problem is that I feel like The Greatest Showman doesn't quite know if it wants to be a legit biopic of P.T. Barnum or kind of live in its own musical fantasy world. I feel like it's sort of undecided.
It takes itself more seriously than Moulin Rouge does.
Yeah.
Yes,
and it comes off being a less serious movie for it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the fact that it does take itself so seriously, yet it kind of skirts a lot of like weird actual P.T. Barnum like, stuff.
Right, yeah.
My biggest issue is what's her name from Dawson's Creek?
Michelle
Williams.
My biggest problem is
the best way to describe her.
Michelle Williams' wig in this movie. It's not the best.
Oh, The Great Showman.
Yeah, she needs to visit Nicole Kidman's wig.
Speaking of Nicole
wig
Kidman's
artists.
wigs, you see some beautiful wigs that Nick wears.
There's
in
some
this
really
movie.
good wig work in this movie. It may have been her introduction to her current wig guy because it's flawless.
I mean, I think that probably Ewan is the only person not wigged in this entire cast.
I think he may be wearing something because
think he's wearing a piece.
his hair
Sure.
is crazy in the front, the part. And I feel like I remember Baz kind of mentioning like every single person's wig.
Do you think that Baz made the cameramen wear wigs too?
I mean, it's only fair.
Everyone on
Yeah.
set, the caterers.
It's like that thing when it's like they're doing a nude scene. It's like
it's like that story from the Canyons with Lindsay Lohan.
Oh my gosh, what an upsetting movie to watch. I watched that whole movie, and I can't believe that I did it.
Oh, we watched
That's a good way to put it. The movie is upsetting.
We watched it like opening week goes on demand. It's fucking terrible.
I watched it, honestly. So I watched it in a hotel room in Sonoma with my dad.
Oh, man.
Although I will say about that movie, Lindsay, not the worst part about it.
No, she's not.
I feel like she sort of gives it the old college try, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't seem well though.
No.
No.
Yeah.
There were parts of it that I was almost like, did they bowfinger this? They were just like following her around, like shooting through the bushes. Just like, there's Lindsay. Like, turn the camera on. She doesn't know they're making a movie. I do like the image of Baz making everyone on set put wigs on. This movie doesn't have any like of the crazy stories that that Romeo and Juliet had because they shot in Mexico and it was so shady.
Like, I think it was a pretty cushy Australian soundstage.
Nobody spiked their clam chowder and like made everybody. Oh, that was Titanic.
That was Titanic. But I'm sure
Something that happened on.
But I'm sure
Romeo
that the shoot in Mexico City for Romeo and Juliet was not like a comfortable.
I think someone was kidnapped. Like, I'm serious. Like, I think somebody.
We need to look into it. And you didn't know that like all of that movie is shot pretty much in Mexico.
Oh yeah, I don't think I really know that much about that movie.
It makes sense, but I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah. Okay, where are we in this movie?
So I mean,
we get
opening
to
scene.
the story. Yeah, exactly.
We get the big introduction and song and dance of Satine because we've talked about the diamonds are a girl's best friend. It's their big movie opening of the movie.
We get the big can. Okay, and then speaking of like theater kids just like living and dying by this movie at the time, I remember certain people that were like dancers that were just like, I'm just so mad because like the can scene was like so edited that you couldn't even see the dancing, and I'm just like, I don't care. Like, it was still impressive and like big and fun. Like, they're like, yeah, but the dancing. I'm like,
and if you're going to be using that Fatboy Slim song, that scene has to be cut fast because that's the only way that you could edit that together.
Totally. Although, and this was my answer to them too, was get the special edition DVD because there's like a whole like single cut, no cuts, like single camera shot of the rehearsals.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it's all of that. It's all the girls in just like white, like long skirts over their like dance, like rehearsal clothes. And it's just like this big, huge studio, and they're doing the entire thing.
This would have had to employ every single dancer on the continent of Australia.
Australia's pretty big. With not a lot of people, I guess.
It's got a lot of dancers in this.
But there's a lot of extras in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of Moulin Rouge dancers.
Yeah, I feel like two of the most notable extras from this movie are the bald, like, muscle twins that are slow dancing with each other.
With, like, the heavily tattooed, yes.
Yeah.
In, like, old-timey, like, bathing suits.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. They kind of look like strong men.
Yeah.
There's also, like, a little person, like, can girl.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. There's, like, circus people.
She plays a very vital role at the end of the movie,
She
too.
does. I forgot about that. We watched it last night. I was like, yes.
I'm sure that she has a name.
She does.
Too.
Like
everyone in this movie has a name.
Yes. And they're all kind of like gang names. Like they're like Baby Doll and like...
and Chocolat.
Yeah, Chocolat. But I don't know. I think it's France, you know.
It's France.
But what does Satine call everyone that works there as creatures of the night?
Something that's another
they
bad
have sort of a
name.
name like that
a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I think because there's the part where the Duke is like, I'll respond in the only language you creatures of the night understand. And
right.
The implication is that he'll start killing people.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
so
there's
I think
like
there's multiple people throughout that call them that creatures of the night or something like that.
Yeah, because I think they're supposed to be kind of like a lower class too of like society. Because also at the time frame, like the caste system, also of like, the rich and like I feel like show people were
and
very
also,
like, vulgar.
It sets up with Satine's arc is that she is kind of the main attraction of the Moulin Rouge, and she's sort of dismissed as being a prostitute.
Yes,
I mean she sort of is like a high-class hoe, but even regardless, if she wasn't a courtesan, an actress at the time would have been dismissed as being a prostitute.
Sure.
Too.
Right.
And her goal is to become a serious actress at the stage.
A real actress.
Like the great Sarah Bernhardt.
And this is around the time we get my new favorite line from this movie. My favorite line before was which you played, which was when he says, what is this ridiculous obsession with love?
And your favorite line isn't penniless writer. Oops, I mean sitar player.
Yes, but my a line that I had not that had receded to the back of my mind that is now my favorite line is when Zidler is going toward Satine, and he's like kind of waving his arms toward. He's like, "My little strawberry."
His performance is insane.
Jim Broadbent, great.
Insane.
This is the year that he won an Oscar too, so it was a big 2001 for Jim Broadbent.
What did he win for?
He won for a little movie called Iris.
Oh, I remember.
I feel like he probably should have been nominated for the Moulin Rouge, but the more serious role sort of made its way to the top.
Yeah, that was when he calls her his little strawberry. That was right before he turns to the camera and says, "Everything's going so well."
Yes.
And they are lacing her up in that corset only to get her out in
to take it right
lingerie
off.
the next scene.
Thank you. I have a continuity question.
Yeah,
here.
that's.
Okay.
I almost
because
wonder
then she gets back into it.
She gets back into it.
I
Yeah,
almost
how could she do that by herself?
I almost wonder if the idea was they would be back to back and then just in the editing room.
That's what I was saying.
That's how it worked out.
They just cut it weirdly. Yeah. Because she needs that woman's help to like get into that thing.
She gets snatched in that corset.
Yeah. That everything's going so well part. I know that like line so well because on the soundtrack it's the beginning of the Red Room.
Right.
Meet you in the Red Room. Dun, dun, dun.
That's the song that is that the Spice Girls?
No.
No? Oh, okay. That's the song that I thought was Spice Girls.
I could have been wrong about the Spice Girls.
So
no,
we should probably set up that Christian, of course, lays eyes on Satine during her big number, and they mistake him for the Duke.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
And
who's a financier for the
He's
Moulin
going to be
Rouge.
bankrolling the Moulin Rouge,
Yes.
and he ends up in the Elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That set is insane, by the way. That elephant set.
Yeah.
And it all looks sort of practical. Like it's like a little elephant fort set.
Yeah, there's like a roof. You can go up on the roof.
Yeah, because when they come out and sing that song later on, and he's jumping on top of the head of the
framed
elephant,
like a little
you can kind of
birdhouse.
see inside of it. I mean, that's probably a real
And it's
set.
like right across from the Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
You can see the like kind of the windmill of the Moulin Rouge from the elephant.
Yes, it's there's like a weird like courtyard. You've been to the actual Moulin Rouge, Scott.
I have been to the Moulin Rouge, and I have a picture of myself out in front of the real Moulin Rouge. Here, Pete, there's a...
Oh, we'll find it.
Yeah,
later.
we'll find it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have been to the real Moulin Rouge, and I guess back in the day there was an elephant in the middle courtyard.
Wow.
That's cool.
Because there was a courtyard and then a dance hall.
Yeah, like you go through the main
There was like
doors
a garden courtyard,
and, it's an open area.
and that's where the elephant was.
Yeah,
Cool.
and then you go to another set of doors to get into the big theater, right?
Yeah.
And what do they have there now? Just like showgirls?
Yeah, I guess so. I never actually went in.
Yeah.
It would have been fun too, though. But we did the little sort of Vegas strip of the Moment.
Yeah,
The Moment.
I can't pronounce.
I have a picture in front of the Sacré-Cœur too.
That's the big church on the hill.
Yeah.
From Amelie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and from France.
Yeah. Every single thing you ever see in France.
Yeah.
It was built for that movie.
Yeah.
From the finale of The Good Place.
Oh, I haven't seen the finale episode yet.
Okay, no
I have
spoilers.
2 more. I don't want to
good.
finish it because I'm sad. Yeah, I think the whole storyline with like the mistaken identity and the Duke and all of that, it's fun. It's it's just kind of
It's very comedy of errors.
yeah, and it's
Old-
just put in place to
old-timey drama.
yeah, to get this ball rolling, though, because it is kind of convoluted. But ultimately, Satine is supposed to meet with this financier, this Duke, to secure money for the Moulin Rouge. But she accidentally meets Christian, who is a penniless writer, and
Poetry.
Yes, naughty words.
naughty words.
It's quite modern.
I remember my younger brother hearing your song, the Elton John original version, and going, well, I'll be damned. I thought that was like just dialogue from the Moulin Rouge.
It was just
I was like, no, it just fits so perfectly into the movie.
It was
That's
his-
why it's so genius.
It was his like Roseanne. Well, I'll be damned
I'll
if
be damned if Gone with the
Gone
Wind
with the Wind
wasn't a
wasn't a
book.
I don't remember if I was all that familiar with your song before the movie.
Sure.
It's one of those things that I'm sure that I had heard it, but not really identified it with.
Well, I think this movie did a lot for
Yeah.
people to just know that song. Like now, I don't think it was. I think it was known, but it was not one of his bigger like legacy hits. It was. I mean, like it's what Almost Famous did for Tiny Dancer. Just brought these songs back into the like modern public's like wheelhouse.
Your song was like his first big hit, and that's what kind of put him on the map.
Yeah.
But after that, I think like Rocket Man and like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, all those other songs kind of maybe took over a little bit.
Yeah.
And Benny and the Jets, like kind of like more like upbeat vibe that he kind of came into with his later albums.
Yeah, totally. And because your song is like 71 or something, right? It's like really old.
It's like his first album,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. It's his breakout hit, basically.
Yeah. Because it's on that best of that I have that was released in like 74.
Is that the one with like the white, the
white
yellow glasses? Yeah. I had that. I had the CD as well.
Yeah. It's a good album.
Yeah, it's
just
good cover too.
Non-stop
I love that
hits.
cover.
Yeah.
And Ewan pretty much sings the song from beginning to end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's one of the only ones in the movie that they do the entire thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. That's such a good scene in Rocket Man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that scene.
I totally blocked it out. What happens in that scene in Rocket Man?
It's where he's sitting at the piano, writing.
Oh,
He's writing the music to the words, right?
They live. Bernie has moved into they moved back in with his mother.
Right.
And he just has the lyrics and he's writing the song around it. And Bernie's just kind of watching.
Did you see them at the Oscars, the two of them together?
Yes.
Because they got the award and they got up there and then they were and it was just like, I don't know, it's so sweet to me to like see two people who have like been friends for so long and have this creative relationship that has like outlasted everything else.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because you think about like Simon and Garfunkel, you think of all these like iconic partnerships that like dissolve after 5 or 6 years, and to see like for 50 plus years that they've stuck together, just like such a strong friendship.
Oh, totally.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And how do they do that? How does one of them write lyrics and another one writes a song around it? That's so
cool.
insane to me.
Yeah.
They were just meant to be.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Go watch Rocket Man, people, if you haven't seen it. It's really good. Your song is amazing. What happens between your song and Elephant Love Medley?
Spectacular. Because it's where they have to
yes.
pitch the Duke.
Yes.
Okay.
They have to pitch the Duke the musical.
Okay.
Can I say two things that happened before that
Of
I
course.
love, I'm obsessed with? So when Ewan McGregor starts to like really sing your song,
Yeah.
all of the lights in Paris turn on.
Yes.
So good.
So funny.
And then the other thing I really love is after that scene when she's the Duke comes in and he's like hiding and he tries to go out the door, but then Warner, the Duke's man, is out there.
Warner.
So then he closes the door and he tries to hide by just putting his face in the corner.
Yeah. He's like, there's like a little curtain that's like barely grazing the top of his head. And that's as good as it gets for him.
It's like
hiding.
like a puppy thing. Like they can't see me because I can't
he
see
just,
them.
Like, literally turns to the wall and thinks that that's good enough.
So good.
I love that.
I can't believe it. I'm in love. I'm in love with a young, handsome, talented Duke.
Duke.
Not that the title's important, of course.
Not a Duke.
Not a Duke.
I'm a writer.
A writer?
Yes, a writer.
Who?
Toulouse.
Oh, no. You're not another of Toulouse's oh so talented, charmingly bohemian, tragically impoverished protégés.
Well, you might say that. Yes.
Oh, no! I'm going to kill him. I'm going
God, I think there might be a small hit. Toulouse told me to...
The Duke!
My dear Duke.
The Duke!
The Duke.
Hide!
I love that this has happened to her before. Like,
Right?
with
Yeah.
Toulouse.
She's like, not another one.
Yeah, she's like mildly upset at first. She's like, oh, this shit again.
Yeah. There's a Moulin Rouge from the 50s.
Yes.
With Zsa Zsa Gabor.
There's also one from the silent era from France, too.
Oh, wow.
So there was two.
So that was
Moulin
like a
Rouge movies.
contemporary, like, the shit was still happening.
Yep.
in the
Can't wait
silent
for Bradley
Same with
Cooper to make the
Romeo
fourth
and same
one.
with
Right.
Gatsby. You've got like a similar thing.
yeah.
Oddly, have
You've
never
got
seen the
two-
Zsa Zsa Moulin Rouge. I
I've
need to
never
give it
seen
a
it
watch.
either.
I mean, those 50s like Technicolor musicals are sometimes a chore.
At least the Phantom of the Opera one is.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Phantom 50s?
No, I
Not
haven't.
great.
Yeah.
just
Beautiful
the
looking, very, very
classic.
boring.
Yeah.
Classic ending awesome.
Yeah.
I saw Phantom at the
The Pantages.
Pantages.
Oh.
And like the set that they had was incredible. It's like this giant moving like
that spun.
chandelier?
We saw it in
Yeah.
San Diego.
We saw that one in San
Yeah,
Diego.
it was
Yep.
amazing. Yeah, it was really cool.
And then they come out of it and like walk down the
Yeah,
steps.
that was crazy
fucking
when the steps
insane.
were like
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
out of
yeah.
the thing. Yeah,
It's
that was
insane,
cool.
unbelievable.
Yeah, that's when you go and you're like, this is theater. We simply must come to the theater more often.
And speaking of theater, I think there's currently a Moulin Rouge musical.
A stage production.
I don't know if it's currently on Broadway.
It is currently,
it currently on Broadway?
It's going to
Wow.
start touring soon.
That's cool.
I can't. I tried to listen to the soundtrack and
Oh.
I had to turn it off.
Oh no!
I had a really hard time. I think I'll enjoy it if I see it live.
Sure.
But I think that like hearing like I don't know like an Ariana Grande song plugged into Moulin Rouge really upset me.
Oh,
Like,
is that what
you
they're
know,
doing now?
like, yeah, so they update the
Updated.
music,
Sure.
Okay.
and I've heard that it's a fun show. But
Sure.
I just really wanted to
Interesting.
die a lot.
I mean, we're all so used to this soundtrack.
Yeah. Like I just want to hear Aaron Tveit sing all these songs instead of Ewan McGregor. Is what I want.
Right?
But,
Yeah.
You know.
I don't think it's really that aged. I mean, there's not anything besides like Lady Marmalade.
I don't even think Lady Marmalade has aged. That's still a banger.
I think
It
that's
is.
the only song they'd leave alone in the stage show.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, in the 50s version, Toulouse-Lautrec, I believe, is one of the main characters, and Zsa Zsa Gabor plays the actual historical like can girl that Satine was like based on, that her character was like
interesting.
modeled after. Because there were like famous girls,
Yeah.
like the four main girls, like Nini, like the mean one, like
The Diamond Dogs.
yeah, she's like modeled after a historical dancer, and then like the big like heavyset one, like that was like
Was
one.
she as big as a bitch?
I mean, that we don't know.
When she says that to the Duke, I'm just like, I think I said out loud on the couch, mind your own business, bitch.
Bitch. Well, when Ewan like shoves her off
Yeah.
later on, I'm
No
like,
one
hit
asked
her! It's like knock our lights out. It's the 1900s. No one will care.
No woman deserves it, but
Yeah.
this woman deserves it.
Yeah. She deserved. That was rude. Yeah. So, I mean, at first, Satine is like, "Nope, this isn't going to work. I will not fall in love." She's very like Vivian in Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
Like, nope, no kissing on the mouth. Like, I'm not going to fall in love with you.
Never take less than 100.
And never take less. I mean, she's not wrong. This is her job.
Yeah.
She can't go around like,
She needs to think of her future.
Yeah.
She's a sparkling jewel.
yeah.
Sparkling diamond.
Sparkling Diamond.
It's
Yeah.
like all those. It's
Diamonds
like
ain't cheap.
no.
Yes.
It's like all those old dudes at the strip club that bring the girls flowers, and they think that that's their girlfriend.
They think that they're married to the dancers.
They're
Yeah.
not.
Or like dating.
They're not keeping the flowers.
Yep. That is why they get walked to their car at the end of the night.
Not that we have that much experience at strip clubs. But so Christian comes back after Spectacular. I don't have a big long clip of that except for
Spectacular!
but that scene is kind of amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And they make it up on the spot.
Yeah, it really feels like they're just using everything in this room and like just pulling this here and that there and like making this crazy little set with puppetry and all
And that's
that.
what's funny about later on when she says, "Oops, I meant to top there," because it's like so fucking obvious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he Ewan literally looks at her and is like, "Courtesan and penniless sitar player." It's like no shit.
Yeah.
He's not the sharpest.
Yeah, I think maybe
Duke?
too
Tool
the
in the
Duke
shed.
is we're just like, okay, the Duke is just kind of a dummy.
Yeah.
But
I love his delivery, like the way he talks in this movie. It's
Yeah.
so he's
So
so
good.
effectively creepy. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
What's
Yeah.
his name? It's
the actor?
Yeah.
Richard Roxburgh.
All we've seen
Burry.
with him is Van
Burrow.
Helsing.
Burrow, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I know him from anything.
He's
else.
really good.
Yeah, he's in Van Helsing, which is terrible. And he's also
Doesn't that have Hugh Jackman?
yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Ah,
I've
yeah,
watched
you have to
that a
see it.
million
He's
years
Van
ago. I
Helsing.
don't really remember, though.
Because
It's
there's
very
that
long.
there's that part where Ewan says he asks him what's it about, and he's like, it's about love, and he's like, love, which is really funny.
Yes.
Just the way he says that. is really funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's those scenes where she goes on dates with the Duke, but Christian goes with them.
Right, yeah.
And there's that
Yeah.
one scene where he's like, "Look, a frog,"
yeah,
Chasing
yeah,
the
yeah.
frog.
and then just stomps on it. You're like, "What the fuck?" He just goes, and just the way he plays it off, like he's got his little cane and he's stomping on this frog, and he is playing this. He's making some really funny choices, and his
I mean,
delivery is
he's
very
like the
interesting.
classic
No shenanigans
comedy of errors villain with
He does have a
hat
long
and,
curly mustache.
a curly mustache and like a cape.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
He's
the
a
hat.
he's a very silent film era kind of villain. So the spectacular scene's kind of amazing. Nicole is selling it.
Yeah.
She's jumping up
Yep.
and down. She's doing everything. Again, can you see Leo doing all this? I don't know. You know, he's a great actor, but I just think he takes himself a little too seriously.
I don't know if he's that fun. I mean, I think that Rick Dalton, I think that's kind of maybe the most fun I've seen him
Right.
in a while.
Yeah.
Or ever.
And even that, there's parts where his character is taking himself super seriously. That's written in there, though.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you're right; it is a little bit more of a fun performance. But after this, we get to the elephant love medley, which again is one of the things that kind of was
Where my parents, Don and Lori, checked
Yeah.
out.
yeah
They're just like, we're good.
yeah,
And I'm just
yeah.
like, oh, well, I guess I'll just stay up and
yeah.
keep watching
I'll
it.
just finish this dumb movie anyway.
It changed a lot of lives.
Changed a lot of lives.
Changed a lot of lives.
But we have we'll listen to this a little bit. This was also from the soundtrack because they did that thing that Tarantino soundtracks do where they play a little bit of audio from the movie right before the song starts.
I can't fall in love with anyone.
Can't fall in love. But a life without love, that's terrible.
No, being on the street, that's terrible.
No. Love is like oxygen.
What?
Love is a many splendid thing. Love lifts us up where we belong. All you need is love.
Please don't start that again.
All you need is love.
A girl has got to eat.
All you need is love.
She'll end up on the street.
All you need is love.
Love is just a game.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Elephant Love medley's fun.
Yeah.
It's so good. I still know every word to both parts.
And they sing Dolly. They sing Dolly Parton.
They do sing Dolly. Well,
I still to this day on IMDb's Dolly Parton's page, it's most known for Moulin Rouge is number 3
what?
Wow.
because it's that
Not
big
The
of
Bodyguard?
it's just that big of an algorithm that it always goes to the Moulin Rouge.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, granted, people at the time were more familiar with Whitney, but
Well, I think of Dolly.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, those special effects are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that turntable and there's fireworks going on behind
Yeah.
them, out the big
yeah.
heart window,
Yeah.
all that stuff is nuts. But it still looks cool. It still doesn't look because it's so heightened. You kind of look past oh well that's green screen or whatever. But it's obviously because there's so many layers and all that. But it looks good. And there's a man in the moon and he's singing opera and
yeah.
I think it's it's not Pavarotti. It's not the other guy either. It's Placido Domingo. from the three tenors.
Not the other guy?
It's not the other guy.
The other guy?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Did you know that I wrote to the other guy when I was in grade school?
I mean, I knew
Because
that.
he's friends with my my stepfather's mother, and I wrote to him.
I mean, the three tenors were a big deal in the late '90s.
He didn't answer back.
Well, he gets a lot of fan mail. He's the other guy.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not Placido Domingo's like face in the moon. It's like an actor, but it's his voice.
Who's in the credits?
And he's in the credits.
Yeah.
And that's not Zidler singing in like a Virgin.
No.
What?
Yeah.
No,
That's not Jim Broadbent singing.
I think they got a
They got a
sound-alike.
sound-alike.
I think he does.
How about that?
I think Jim Broadbent does
Shatter.
the can-can. I think he does the can-can because that's a pretty talk-sing song. But yeah, I think like a Virgin, they got a sound-alike.
Yeah.
I feel the need to console you.
information.
I feel the need to console you right now.
That was when I was 7. That was my favorite scene in the movie. I just thought. I think just because I was a kid and it's so fun. There's
it is
so
funny,
much going on.
And he's got like the veil and
Yeah.
and there's all the dancers in the.
We can appreciate how gay all of the dancers are in that scene.
Yeah, that's it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like that scene, like, the movie kind of shifts a little bit, and like visually it changes too, because you have in the beginning there's like we're saying, all of the colors, all of the like this fast paced like action and singing and all that stuff, and once we get to the
Gothic
Dukes,
Tower,
the movie tonally changes, and visually, it gets darker. Everything kind of slows down.
Yes.
The pace of the movie slows down a lot. It slips more into this dramatic world once we get there.
I was thinking about that too. I was kind of thinking, once we passed that point, I was thinking to myself, is this where I usually just stopped it? Like, would I just stop watching after a while?
The first being is fun.
Yeah.
The first hour and 10 minutes of this movie is like jammed packed.
Yeah.
Right.
It is song after song after song after song.
Because I was going to say, I kind of had in my notes when Zidler confronts Satine and is like, you need to break it off.
Right.
That's, to me, but it's like the very next scene, because that's when she says, or that's when she's supposed to meet him at the Gothic Tower. And will the
lovers meet at the penniless sitar player's abode?
Yeah. The lovers will meet at the sitar player's abode.
Yeah.
That's the most important scene.
I kept thinking about, since it's so packed in with songs, if there was any studio notes of you have to cut something.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of the main songs were kept in the movie. And I was kind of thinking, like, what song could you take out and you could still follow the movie? But I think they all just build on one another. And you have to have all of them.
Yeah.
They're all in service of something, I feel.
Yes. Yeah. I think when I would originally listen to the soundtrack, I feel like Someday I'll Fly Away was like my least favorite.
I like the remix. I like the remix version of that song on the second soundtrack.
Oh,
more.
yeah.
Have you listened to that one? Yep.
I love that album.
I see. I didn't have two.
That's what Spectacular is on.
Oh, okay. But that song, like we were saying, that song that's such a part of her character. She's got like, even she has a little bird in her like dressing room that she like talks to, and like, it's her like character beat of like flying away. She's going to leave the Moulin Rouge eventually. So they're going to convert the Moulin Rouge into a theater. A theater. Because it wasn't a theater. It was a dance hall.
It was a dance hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was like theater in the round style.
So it wasn't really like a stage. It was just where the band was.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
It's like that weird Emmys where it was in theater in the round.
That
Do
was
you remember
weird.
that?
Yeah,
That was weird.
Yeah. I'm picturing it more like the Golden Horseshoe Saloon, like at Disneyland.
That's still a traditional
That's
theater,
still like
though.
a theater. Yeah, I guess. I feel like that's what the Moulin Rouge looked like inside, but bigger.
Possibly.
There's Can-Can girls there.
Mm-hmm.
I always associated Can-Can girls with like the Old West when I was a kid, mostly because of the Golden Horseshoe Theater at Disneyland, because my dad would take us in there and to see the Can-Can girls. But it's interesting because like the Can-Can, I guess itself, it's like that's the same time frame, like the Old West, as this, and it's just like made its way like to the U.S., I guess. and like the style of like the girls and the dancers and the style of dress and all that. So
it was probably immigrants leaving France, coming to the Old West.
Sure.
Like in Far and Away.
And starting up saloons. Yes, like in Far... Well, they're
Irish.
They're from Ireland.
Yes. I mean, those accents. Come on. Can't forget that.
Oof.
That was some great accent work. I have a little bit of the Duke contract where he talks about the contract. Do you want
His line delivery is pretty funny.
Yeah, I feel like we were talking about his line delivery. Maybe we should listen to that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would require a contract that binds Satine to me exclusively. Naturally, I shall require some security. I shall require the deeds to the Moulin Rouge.
My dear Duke,
Pish! Don't think that I'm naive, Zidler. I shall hold the deeds to the Moulin Rouge. And if there are any shenanigans, my manservant Warner will deal with it in the only language that you underworld show folk understand. Satine will be mine. It's not that I'm a jealous man.
I just don't like other people touching my things!
Well, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a strong like visual aspect to the scene as well, where he's like grabbing his hat
Yes.
that's on his lap.
Yeah, and he like crushes it. Like at first he's like gingerly like
Yeah,
holding
yeah,
it, and then
yeah.
it's just like destroys it. Which ultimately he would do with Satine if he got his mitts around her, right?
Yeah.
So Satine and Christian are like having this affair in full view of everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Frankly.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, they're going on these crazy dates with the Duke.
Mm-hmm. It's
But
okay, though, because there's no mountain too high and no
this
river
is
too
true.
wide.
I mean,
should we talk a little bit about Come What May?
Come What May and why it got snubbed for Best Original
So you
Song.
would think that this song would just clear out all of the best original songs,
Mm-hmm.
but fun fact, was not written for this movie.
Was it written for the end credits of another movie or something?
It was written for Romeo and Juliet because I think that the idea was to have a musical sequence in Romeo and Juliet, so they wrote the song and then they just dropped the entire musical number.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they rewrote it a little bit to cater to the Moulin Rouge, but yeah, Come What May was written for Romeo and Juliet.
And we lost our opportunity to see Nicole Kidman singing at the Oscars.
Singing to Ewan.
Yeah.
On stage.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. And I guess that Baz says that they could have put it in, but he thinks that enough people knew that it was for Romeo and Juliet that eventually
It would have gotten disqualified.
it would have
So
gotten disqualified.
Shitty, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like it's for his own project. You know, it was still his. Like,
Yeah.
it was still for one of his projects.
There are
Yeah.
original songs in this movie, so I'm surprised why those didn't end up getting picked because I'll Fly Away, I believe, is original.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And also On at the Show.
The
is
show must
original,
go
I
on.
think.
Oh, the show must,
The show
yeah.
must
that's
go on.
Queen. That's Queen.
Oh.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, it sounds so different.
Yeah, it's just very like big, but I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and
Sure.
that's the version I knew first.
Oh,
but,
okay.
man, I saw Queen with Adam Lambert
Oh.
At the ball?
at the Forum.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Did they? Oh, maybe they didn't do that song. You know what? They didn't do that song. I'm sorry. I was
Oh,
about to get
interesting.
excited, but they didn't do that song.
Well, I just had my... Well, I'll be
You
damned.
just had your wig snatched.
I'll be damned if On at the Show wasn't the Queen version.
Yeah,
See?
because what they take out of it from the Queen. I mean, I love the Moulin Rouge version,
Yeah.
but in the Queen version, the show must go on, yeah. You know, that's in the Queen version. They took it out of the.
Huh.
So it's a little different.
Okay.
But it's still, but they're both great.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe Someday I'll Fly Away is just not...
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
not like,
Yeah.
you know, when you nominate a song from Moulin Rouge, you want it to be like a big,
Yeah.
in your
Big
face
song,
song.
yeah.
And also, even like the full version from the soundtrack is really short.
Yeah.
It's like not almost a full...
I don't think it's ever been anyone's favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh well. But yeah, eventually we get horrible, awful Nini
Yeah.
giving him this idea. Why is she gonna choose the penniless writer? I mean, sitar player.
It's the most fun line in this movie to say.
It is good. It is good. But it leads to like the big like accidental reveal by Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He's so dumb.
It's
so frustrating.
Yeah, that scene's a very big like
Because she doesn't love you.
She doesn't love you.
Him. I meant him.
I do like the Duke. It's like this huge production number, and it's that thing where it's like it's very almost like White Christmas. You see this giant production, like big, huge number, and it all ends, and it just cuts to the Duke sitting there.
Cuts to him in a chair, sort of unimpressed.
I don't like this ending.
That's a good
That was a good impression, yeah.
Thank you. And then, we get the big reveal from Christian. And, I mean, how do they cover that up?
She kind of like tries to, be like,
smooth it
oh,
over.
these writers with their infatuation.
Oh, sure.
And then she's like, we will have dinner at the Gothic Tower tonight, you and I. And
Right.
we'll just like, don't worry about it. And, and she's going to sleep with him so that they could get the proper ending to the show.
Right. Which, I mean, let's be real, just do it. Gotta get that money.
I know, but
you guys are living in the gutter otherwise.
But Satine is going to leave, though. And we get my favorite diva moment of Nicole Kidman when she's telling Zidler that she's gonna leave.
Well, is this after the whole necklace debacle and Roxanne?
Oh, I think it is.
Yeah. Because we have the Gothic Tower scene where he gives her this like crazy necklace.
Right.
And Christian's all pissed off because he knows she's over there at this very moment.
They talk on the commentary how that
boned down.
that diamond Netflix necklace is like
it was real.
It was real, and it's worth like $1 million.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They got it on loan.
Yes. And Christian's just like, okay, she's like 500 feet away from me right now, getting bone zoned, and I'm mad, and I'm going to sing a song about it. But that's when
the narcoleptic Argentinian comes in.
No, but I was going to say that's when he shoves Nene, and I was like, hit her.
Yeah.
And the narcoleptic Argentinian comes in. I don't know that the concept of narcolepsy would have been well known at the turn of the century.
Probably not diagnosed.
Yeah, they'll just be like, this guy's
Just
weird.
that guy that passes
Also,
out.
Passed out all the
how
time.
do we feel about John Leguizamo playing the dwarf? Is it successful?
I think. Well, did you know he has his feet bound to his waist the whole time?
But
That's
it's still,
crazy.
But it still always looks like John
Leguizamo
Leguizamo is like
on his knees.
is on his knees the entire time.
That's fine. Well,
is he taking a job from a little person? Should a dwarf have played that role?
I mean, maybe.
Well, but Toulouse was not a dwarf. Like, he had something
It
wrong
was
with
just
his legs. That, like,
Short.
yeah, it was like King of the Hill's dad. He had no shins. It was a thing where like his legs were like busted or something. He wasn't like a dwarf. He was just something was up.
Because he's in proportion.
Yeah,
of regular people.
But I mean,
Right.
John Leguizamo on his knees is going to be like a normal looking dude. I don't know, but maybe today they was the dwarf in Greatest Showman a little person. Yes, he was. It was not his singing voice though.
Interesting.
Right. So okay, where were we?
But I think John Leguizamo does do a good job in this role, and playing being in love with Christian. 100%.
Yes,
Like,
for sure.
I feel like that's something that doesn't come up a lot, but I think that is how
This
that
is
character
true.
is played.
I agree. I think that it's kind of they threw in a shot here and there, and I
Yeah.
think that maybe today would have been explored a little bit more.
Because at the end of Elephant Love Medley, we
He's, like,
see it
looking
like
at the-
it cuts to him across the way, and he's watching them, and he's sad, and he's drinking
And
by himself.
and it looks like he's been crying.
Yeah, and then he
Yes.
sings the "How Wonderful Life Is." Now you're in the world. and
Yes.
it's like, oh.
And there's the that love montage where they're in the flat, and he's like there with them, and they're like all happy and stuff, but he's like there rehearsing and all of that. So I definitely think that would have been explored a little bit more. But I mean, it was there, and we can kind of infer all that. But I think he was.
If we needed more queer subtext of the Moulin Rouge
Yeah.
to go around. There's the most blatantly obvious one.
Yeah, there's enough stuff otherwise. So yeah, the Roxanne Tango. That's a cool song too. I feel like it wasn't my favorite.
Oh, it's maybe my favorite.
Maybe your favorite?
It's one of those things that I never think it's my favorite until I get to it.
Yeah.
And watching it last night, wow, this is cut together beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Christian's part.
You get all of like the narratives going on at once during the song.
Yes.
And it's a very powerful movie moment.
Yes.
And it gives you like a different sound too than you've got for the rest of the movie, which
Yeah,
I
that's true.
appreciate. It changes it up, and it's like a turn to the darkness of the end of the movie.
Right.
It does a really good job of that. The choreography is incredible. Like all
Yes.
of the dances,
Mhm.
there's
Yeah,
so many.
that's
Again,
true.
there's so many of them, but this time they're all doing the same thing instead
Yeah.
of like at the beginning where you have all these like conflicting movement at the beginning. But
Right.
now they're all uniform, and he's walking through them, and it's just beautifully shot and beautifully choreographed.
Okay. All right. Now I have better appreciation for it.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say I do really like Christian's singing part in that song as well. So yeah, that is really good.
Last night while we were watching it, I was just doing an Instagram story of that whole part. It's always my favorite. It's one of my favorite parts to watch, and like I was just like scream singing with it. It was so fun.
Yeah, it is a very like a belt, like you're belting when you're singing that bit. So then Satine's in the Gothic Tower. She's like kind of being overtaken by the Duke, but she's saved. She's saved by Chocolate Mousse.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in and saves the day.
Yeah, well, and the whole reason why that happens, like,
Why does that
she was
happen? How
gonna.
did he know?
Because, he I think was just there. I think he had maybe accompanied her there
Oh,
and was
sure.
like, to make sure she was okay.
Yeah.
But the reason why, I mean, ultimately the Duke like was going to rape her.
Yes.
Was because Christian walks by down on the street below, and
Yes.
she starts
There
to sing,
you go.
to come what may
Yes.
to him, and then he's like, "Oh, I see."
Yeah.
And then and he throws her down, rips the necklace off of her, starts to like rip her clothing off of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's saved by Chocolate Mousse.
And she goes over to Zidler's office and she tells him she's going to hit the road with
Yes.
Christian. They're going to leave the Moulin Rouge.
Yes, indeed. That is a really good scene.
He can't scare us.
He's a powerful man. You know he can do it.
What are you doing?
I don't need you anymore! All my life, you've made me believe I was only worth what someone would pay for me! But Christian loves me. He loves me, Harold. He loves me. And that is worth everything. We're going away from you, away from the Duke, away from the Moulin Rouge! Goodbye, Harold.
You're dying, Satine.
I mean, did she not know?
That's the whole time I'm like, I know they didn't like tell her specifically, like they had a doctor that knew and they didn't tell her specifically, but like you must be like somewhat in tune with your own body.
Yeah.
That you're very not well.
And I think you also know that consumption is a thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it was probably like 1 out of every 10 people probably died of this
Yeah.
back then.
Like, coughing up blood's not a great sign, right?
Yeah.
I think you kind of understand that this is what's going around right now.
This should have been the Oscar clip.
That should have been the Oscar clip.
I
sure.
like how she makes. There are a lot of like word
Breath acting.
acting that
Yes.
she does in this
Mhm.
movie.
Indeed.
There's the earlier aforementioned scene where she's like on the little love couch and rolling around like yes, yes. And then this, which is like there's a whole lot of gasping from her in this movie.
Also, for me, some of the most satisfying Nicole Kidman breath acting in this movie is when she passes out during Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, when she goes, and then she falls back. And then also the same during Come What May, the finale Come What May number.
Oh,
where
yeah.
She's like, and forgive everything. And then she's like, it's so good.
Yeah.
I love singing along with the soundtrack and
Yeah.
with the movie while I'm watching it. And you have to do that breath during Come What May.
Yeah, you get
You know?
they should have a third disc of the Moulin Rouge soundtrack. It's just her gasping.
We can attempt to do a supercut of that, but I don't know if I have the time. I've got a full-time
It
job.
would take a while. Yeah.
I work 40 hours a week. But I mean, eventually they have to do the full show, right? The Duke and the entire like audience. The Zidler keeps saying like the show must go on, right? So we end up doing the entire show, and it is impressive.
Yes, it
is.
is.
The dancing, like all of it, the stage, it's crazy how amazing it looks.
Yeah.
The way it's shot. It gets kind of dark though when Christian makes his way on stage.
Yeah.
Like throwing money at her and like, oh,
I've paid my whore.
Yeah.
I love saying that anytime I pay one of my friends money. Like,
I'm going to start doing that now.
I've paid my whore. Yeah, it gets pretty dark, but you know.
Oh, and then that line comes back too that his father says at the beginning, or like, thank you for curing me of my ridiculous obsession with love. Yeah.
And he's saying it, trying to fight back tears. Like that is a really good delivery from Ewan right there, because he's like, he's gonna cry, but he's like not gonna cry. He's gonna say it. He's gonna say what he has to say and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of love that. It's like some really good Christian like cry acting there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's walking away, she starts to sing "Come What May."
Yes.
Yeah,
because that's
well. So he comes out on stage. There's a lot happening. That we've kind of come back to this like full on immersive experience where there's like 10 different people and they're all doing different things.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of comes back into focus. This type of scene from earlier in the movie, and the reason he ends up on stage is because he's like having this moment with her, and then the doors open and they're both out on stage now. And everyone and he's not playing the sitar player, and everyone in the audience is like, and so Zidler like sort of saves it. He's like, "Oh, you cannot fool me!
Yeah.
It is a disguise." Yeah, and everyone in the audience is like, "Oh, yeah." Like everyone in the audience is just here for whatever is going on.
Yeah, I feel like an old timey audience would just be like, "Sure, that's what's happening now."
Yeah.
Like they would totally buy into it. I guess there was like probably like some quick change action that was going on with Satine's character, and he was just chasing her backstage and wound up there. But yeah, all the stuff with what's going on stage and what's the manservant's Warner, the manservant. He's like got his gun. I like when he blends in with the musicians because they're all bald.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of funny. But yeah, there's a lot going on. It's very like comedy of errors, like you said, Scott, with just like the gun being knocked,
mistaken identities.
Yeah. But I think the staging of that last scene is really crazy.
Yeah,
but it's well done. Yeah,
it's theatrical.
Yeah,
it really just like
it's cinematic.
It's cinematic. Everything comes together.
Yeah,
our star-crossed lovers are reunited.
Yeah,
and they're having their big moment with each other.
Yes, although their reunion is going to be cut short by
the consumption.
I mean, Satine just dropping dead. That's the whole thing too, because you have this device that they set up at the beginning of the movie that she's fucking gonna die. So you're just like, okay, she's dead. We know this gun is in play, but that's like writing like 101. Like you introduce a gun, you got to shoot it. So you're like, okay, is she gonna get shot? Is he gonna shoot her? Like, is she gonna survive this time? Like, what's gonna happen? So it's very tense, but it's very successful in that like building of all of that tension. And it's just kind of a weird downer ending. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's like still successful as far as like the love story, even though
and she tells him it's like the Shakespeare in Love ending where he's gonna write his heartbreak into art too.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. That's a good analogy. I like
that.
Yep. Tell our story, Christian.
Oh boy.
It's about truth, beauty. No, don't do wrong.
And the American way.
Justice in the American way. That's from the Lost Boys.
And Superman. To the Republic for which it stands. Did we reach the end of this? Is there anything
I think
else?
we did.
Oh my goodness gracious.
But I mean, who doesn't love the Moulin Rouge like a bunch of gay men and their hag friend just to sing songs of this movie on like the on like the drama bus going to like a speech and drama meet. Like rocking out to the soundtrack in your car.
Yeah, if anything, the soundtrack just brought a lot of people together.
I remember when, I suppose this is a good time to segue into Lady Marmalade. I remember when that song came out at the end of the school year, because I think that came out in like April or May. And I just remember it just being fucking huge. I remember being on the tennis court and all of us just like singing it.
Oh my God.
That music video with Missy Elliott introducing it, them at the MTV Movie Awards. It was everywhere.
Christina Aguilera's hair was so big in that video during that whole time. She was just so big.
And her waist was so tiny.
It's like Twisted Sister style.
Yes. It's a very Dee Snider look, like the makeup, the hair, all of that. But it's iconic.
Everyone has to decide who they're going to be in the song. Like, who's going to be the Pink. No one really wants to be the Maya.
Oh, no. Yeah. But, I mean...
I feel like when we were out last week in West Hollywood, and the DJs just put this on, and people lost their goddamn mind. So it still brings down the house.
It did bring down the house that night at the Foo Bar. Do we have any final thoughts on this movie and what it means to us in our lives, Harper?
I think it's the greatest movie of all time. That's it.
I love
Much
that.
like this song.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I'm not going to argue with your thoughts on that.
It has a very rewatchability about it that you can just put it on and you can just go with it.
Yes,
Always.
Indeed.
Yeah, that, and I just think it does everything so well. Like, it looks amazing, it sounds amazing, like, great performances. It's just so... It does everything well. I mean, it's such a movie. It's a movie.
It is, yes.
Yeah, it's a movie.
With a capital M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I mean, I suppose that we had The Greatest Showman, which sort of tried to do it, but, I mean, movies like this have a hard time getting made now.
Yeah, totally.
Originality is very hard to come by. With stuff like this.
It's true. It's true. Jonathan, what do you think? What do you have? Final thoughts?
I like
you
it.
agree?
I enjoy it. Yeah, I found myself like laughing at a lot of stuff that I had obviously seen a bunch of times before.
Yeah.
And a lot of these like little moments that like you don't really like I said, like when the Duke says love,
yeah,
like a lot of that kind of stuff where you're just like, oh, this really hits, and like with the lights coming on in Paris and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of really little, for all the big moments in this movie, there are a lot of really little moments that deliver as well, and I think that's what makes makes it a solid movie. Is you have both. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I feel like this hit at a time when I was just kind of like appreciating like the movie musical like coming back into like cinema. Like I said, I'm just a ride or die for Ewan McGregor. This just has a lot of like super gay shit in it, like this song.
Like Christina's cue into the song. This?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just, it hit at the club. This song's a fucking banger. And yeah, this movie did mean a lot to like me coming up and like just kind of being like, yeah, it's amazing. It is. I agree, Harper. It's one of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
Scott, what do you got?
I mean, agreed. I love it. It's great. It's a movie too that I'll sometimes forget about, and then I'll put it on and be like, man, this movie's fucking great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like I'll go through an extended period of time of either not listening to the soundtrack or watching the movie, and then I watch it, and then all of a sudden the soundtrack is just on repeat.
Yes, indeed.
And like I said before when we opened it, I admire that the movie was not a huge success when it came out in the theater, and its audience found it. Like, it eventually got its cult following.
It hit at the right time with DVD
because people just discovered it. They didn't necessarily need to discover it in the theater, but they found it.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Oh,
Do you guys want to talk about Hawkeyes a little bit?
Yes, plug your show.
Talk about Hawkeyes.
Tell us where we can find it, all that good stuff.
Well, we're anywhere you can find podcasts. You can listen to Hawkeyes. We're usually after a couple of football podcasts, and then you'll see us with Ethan Hawke. But yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, even at Hawkeyes Pod. And you can find me at Harping About everywhere, all those places. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sure, yeah.
And you guys are roughly halfway through Ethan Hawke's filmography, right?
We're close. We're almost halfway.
You're in like the mid 2000s.
Yeah, we're in the late 2000s, and we're still not even halfway. Like, he starts to really work.
Ramp it up a little bit more, yeah.
Well, you guys can go back and re-listen to me. Listen to me on their podcast. I talk about Ethan Hawke and Gwyneth Paltrow in Great Expectations.
A great episode. We went to... we have some friends at Clementine, which is a fun little bakery and restaurant in Century City, and I asked for an Ethan Hawke cupcake because they were doing conversation, like conversation hearts with cupcakes. Sure. And so I was like, something Ethan Hawke, and then they put Great Expectations on the cupcake. It was very cute.
That's cool.
And Ethan Hawke has commented on your account.
He has several. Well, he has commented once and liked a whole lot.
Posts.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he knows that you exist.
He knows that we're around.
Amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he has a new show coming out on Showtime this year, and I'm hoping that with promotion for that, he'll be out here more, and we'll get a chance to, get in there.
Wow. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. That's amazing. Listeners, you can also find us on social media as well. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Movies That Made Us Gay. We are on Twitter at MTMUGPod. That's at MTMUGPod. We would love for you to rate and review our show.
Give us 5 stars.
Go to iTunes and give us 5 stars and write a review.
It helps that algorithm go up.
It does. It helps more people find us and listen to us. And tell your friends about our show if you like it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Spectacular! Spectacular!